this computer.
We do.
All right, this is Cyber Defense Club, Cedar Rapids Homeschools, September 28th, 2024. Court is in session. Dan Tice presiding. Go.
At the moment. So I have, and I'm going to give you the topic, and the topic is using AI and ethics, specifically plagiarism and academic dishonesty. So we are pretty much in agreement that, you know, if you have a paper due and you go to ChatGPT and say, please write a paper on blank, and then you copy that, spit it out, and turn it in as your own work, that's pretty clear plagiarism and ad. That has, particularly if you're taking courses at Kirkwood, that will get you kicked out. However, where is that line exactly? If you take a paper that you wrote and you put it in ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT that you would like it to correct all grammar and spelling errors and correct for tone, and it changes some sentences to be a more appropriate tone, that's often a challenge for people your age. Where does that? The ideas, at least the original ideas, are yours, but the words may not be. And going further down the line, where does that stop? What about if you're using Word and it autocorrects your spelling or flags that you need a comma here because you've got a run on? Where exactly does that all? Where's the line between what's appropriate and what's not appropriate? So that is the question, and I'm going to pose that.
First of all, Isaac.
I think he'll leave. Apparently, I've let him off.
No. I thought my Linux distro broke because it booted into BusyBox.
Yeah, I was just wondering why Isaac was.
Why it was like defeating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the topic.
Should largely depend on the teacher's written policy as to whether or not, like, if you use spell check to correct your grammar, and the teacher doesn't have a policy that says that you have to do that, it's largely dependent on the teachers and policy. If there's no policy against AI, then legally it is okay. Well, yeah.
So if the teacher doesn't have a policy that says no plagiarism,
well, saying that's into the ethics is if there's no rules explicitly saying it, then legally it is okay. It is not ethically okay because like it's still not your work. It's ethics. Exactly. That makes it ethically wrong, but legally right.
So what made it ethically wrong? I think that's the question.
Yes.
Doing the work like yourself. When you ask AI to write the paper, what the teacher's asking is like, I want your paper. I want your words. I don't want AI's words. I want your words.
So can I spin this a little bit? For
Yeah.
homeschool, do you ever have your parents look at your work or if you're in regular school, you ask your teacher for help or get, like when I was in middle school and high school, I had a buddy I liked math a lot. And my buddy and he would play basketball with me. This was the trade. And I had no right to be on the same court with him. And then I would do math with him. But he would do his math, and every now and then it'd be like, no, I don't think this is right. And we'd talk through it. Was that okay?
Yeah.
Well, how was I not his AI? Right? What about if your mom looks at your homework and says, oh, honey, I don't think this is right. So, I mean, the question is, where's the line?
And for this class, and this is actually how I started, if you basically go to Stack Overflow because you've got a problem you don't understand, and you're like, oh, okay, and you just copy and paste that, I have never ever seen a statement, maybe you have, tell me if you have. Have you seen a like memo statement or something in code saying, you know, the above was taken or
Oh,
inspired?
I do.
by-
I will say, the following, how do I word it? The following was wholeheartedly, stolen from, and I'll put the URL.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Never seen that, so, okay, you have.
Because to me, it comes down to the context of learning, like in your example.
Yeah,
Are you learning the content? Or are you letting the AI drive?
that was
Just-
going
yeah.
to be my point. Yeah, are you letting the AI drive, or are you using it as a tool, or are you
To
using
learn.
it to
Right.
learn and to grow, or are you just using it to get your work done so you don't have time to do things? Intentions are as much important as the act in and of itself.
So there was this was it last year when they did the during the competition?
Competition, during the
Yeah,
debrief, I
yeah,
think.
no.
Yeah, there was an anomaly that said, you know, discuss the ethics of using AI to respond to the anomalies.
Yeah.
I guess so many people have been responding to the
Yeah.
anomalies by just
And
typing.
then
it in.
people went out and said, what do you think the ethics are of using AI to respond to anomalies at a CDC?
Right.
Yes.
It's an interesting question, and there are several pros and cons. Let's look into
Yeah.
those.
What I think you got is you typed that into chat GPT, answer, quoted it, cited it, and then reacted.
Yeah. A mostly human thing. It wasn't like our intention there was not really to like say that this was our work. It
But
was.
that's again,
I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember.
well, if you cite it, there's no
I think we
academic honesty at all.
Unless,
Mm.
well, it's fair use, so you can't, if it was academics, that
Mm.
would be plagiarism, even if you, like, if your whole paper was an AI and then you said, my academic research was written by ChatGPT.
Well, you have.
Yeah. But I mean, if it was academic research, it wouldn't be plagiarism, but it also wouldn't be research.
Some work into it, some
Yeah.
value.
There are bounds around fair use, and they're actually defined.
Yeah, that's the question is where does your content start? Where does that bleed over to the
That
So if you identify it, should be.
But maybe not at the CG.
that comes down to the personal feelings and the teacher institutions, whatever, like the school's policy. Like for me, for instance, if I'm writing a paper, like not only am I not personally comfortable with I'm comfortable with using AI, like, hey, I don't quite understand this. How do I do this? Because I would then cite it, obviously, like I got this piece of information was derived from a chat GPT answer. However, I'm not comfortable using chat GPT or AI to edit the tone. Spell check, like, hey, point out my errors, show me where I did wrong. I would once again credit chat GPT for that, but I'm not comfortable with letting it edit it because then it's more its words rather than my own.
So let me ask you, when you've been working, you were
Yeah.
working on the DHCP server.
Yeah.
I assume you went to Stack Overflow and
Yeah.
that a bunch. Did you cite it?
I did not. I don't really know how I would wait with DHCP.
Well,
I don't
I'm just
think I
saying that as a recent example. I mean,
Mm.
I haven't really been seeing that.
Yeah, I only cite sections where I lift code. And it's not an obvious
Yeah.
thing, and I got a aha from, and then I'll say, I'm lifting this code. Not if I get ideas, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I did
that's
not
just to
cite-
clarify.
How do you?
It doesn't depend on the license of the code too.
So sometimes you have to cite,
There might
but
be-
you don't have to cite you don't have to cite stuff from.
Yeah, I don't know
from
if
the
Stack
Stack
Overflow-
Exchange. sites.
There
That's
is
like
a
college.
host license on each of the posts on there automatically. Where you have to credit them, but aside from that, I don't think there's anything there.
Well,
But you only have to
that-
do that if you use their code.
Yeah,
Yeah.
copy
Right.
their
Yeah,
code.
yeah. Control C, Control
Yeah.
V. But like with the DHCP thing, one, not only do I not really know how I would cite that, but also to me it comes down to what is the purpose of this product. if the purpose of the product is for like me, like if it is for commercial use, like if I want to display this product to other people, whether or not it be they buy it or not, I will be like crediting everybody that I use. However, if it's like a random tool that I use, or if it's setting up DHCP on a server that's never going to be publicly used by anybody else, then it's still then it's I don't know whether or not that makes like using the commands off of that I got off of Stack Overflow okay. But like I'm not making anything off of this. Like I'm not personally gaining from this. So it's not that they shouldn't, but it doesn't really matter. They're not going to get anything anymore.
Let's hear a little bit from this side of the table.
So, firstly, I'd like to say, for the sake of more direct discussion, I'd like to propose a hypothetical.
Okay.
We're some sort of researcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're, I don't know, writing a paper. We're independent of some sort of body of work.
Okay.
Right. So now it's all about ethics. And yeah, I'd agree with Tristan that very much depends on if you're the one doing the work and the AI is just a tool to assist you with that. I'd say that, the main thing
Is that a
is citing
distinction?
your sources, right?
Is that a firm distinction between
It's not firm.
your work and okay?
It's the very important thing is citing your sources, which, as far as I know, AI cannot do at the moment.
This is
If you ask
This is
it to, I think
correct.
it can, but
for the most part, this is correct because the part of the engine that generates the answer isn't the same part that generates the sources, I don't think.
that would make sense.
I don't see how it makes sense. But it does.
Like one it acquires sources, then the other part uses information that it got.
Yeah, but
It doesn't know where it got the information. It just knows.
yeah, but I want to let Axel continue, but it's weird because the chat GPT will say, well, I'm looking stuff up, and then it doesn't generate its own sources. But
So yeah, AI just has all this data, it shuffles it around, spits it out, and so it doesn't know where any individual piece came from. Even humans can't trace that very well, so it can't cite sources, and it's very important in academia to cite your sources so that people can go and check your work, especially.
Well, I think that's a whole rabbit hole though, because they don't legally want to cite the sources because some of those sources they've trained the model on.
yeah,
They have legal rights to train the model on that data.
Yeah.
no,
Right.
It's weird, right? Because
Yeah.
it's great for data. Everybody says, "Oh, please index my site," and then please forget everything about it. You can't do both, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where do you stand?
Well, the first thing I would say is that if the penalty for academic dishonesty is you get kicked out of school, then ambiguity is not your friend.
Exactly.
You do not want ambiguity. Now, I kind of think you guys that are taking courses at Kirkwood, has anybody been, hey, if, like, especially if you're taking a computer science course, hey, if I have a problem that's, tangential to the assignment, and I go into Stack Overflow and, get some ideas from there, do I need to cite that? I don't think guys, are those questions being asked of the professor? No,
Well, currently, I have an example off of a composition class. How yeah.
that's pretty clear.
That's pretty clear. It's
So now to go back to that's kind of where I was going and how I kind of came up with this. But the other where I would come down with it if I were a professor is this assignment is meant to teach you blank, blank, and blank.
Yeah,
And if you're using AI or looking up sources to solve tangential issues, I'm perfectly fine with that. And I'm not exactly sure where the, I might put a note that I'd rather you cited where this came from.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna go ballistic on it. So if I were trying to teach people how to use grammar and how to spell, then I'd say, and you need to turn off on Word,
Yeah.
the spell check and all that sort
Yeah.
of thing. Because, but you know, if I'm like, I want you to explain the symbolism in this book, then I don't care about the spelling, and you know, I want it to be readable, so
Yeah.
please keep it on. So it does have to do with what the work is. I also bring this up because some recent studies by like Dr. Peter Boghossian and some of these other folks, it's probably 40% of academic papers are plagiarized somewhere in the paper. I mean, it's a huge problem.
Publish or perish.
Yes, and
I'm glad to see they're
plagiarism
starting
is
to have
just ridiculous.
professors of instruction now, and they don't have to publish. And that's an option, and I think it was ridiculous when I was in grad school. It's like, you gotta publish something.
Yeah.
And the things people would come up with, you know, I'm gonna research whether guppies with white fins on their, white stripes on their tails have more intelligence than the ones that have 3 eyes. You know, it's,
yeah.
Yep.
are we recording? Oh, no. Try to work that in every.
But, you know, academic dishonesty is a huge topic. And maybe it's worthwhile to be asking these questions, like when you're in a CS class or something. And because I think this is a direct quote for Chris is, you know, in the IT world, what you really want to know is where to look things up
Yeah.
and how to tell nonsense from good information.
That's not a direct quote. It's really close.
And so that's what we've been kind of teaching you. But at the same time, now I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, maybe we need to talk about these ethics so that you aren't taking that philosophy directly into a class and, you know, using Stack Overflow in a manner that's going to get you in academic hot water. So that was something that I was thinking about last night and going, oh, we should have this conversation.
Well,
So,
actually, Dan.
yeah.
Then what do you then think about like quote unquote paraphrasing the information that you get off of AI or Stack Overflow rather than quoting it? Like when you're writing a program, like
Okay, if you were
paraphrasing.
writing, would you say that?
Cite, yes, I would cite
Okay.
Stack.
I mean, that's really about the idea. I actually had a history paper, read this book, and I had really thought the author had kind of gone in this direction with this argument. And I'm like, okay, I want to use that. So I want to go back and find some juicy quotes, and I couldn't find it. So I actually wrote this big footnote saying, basically a note to the prof saying,
Yeah.
I got this idea while reading this book. I can't find
cite
the quote.
it. Yeah.
My own thoughts. I might have gotten marked down for not citing it properly,
Mhm.
but if you say something, you're
Yeah.
not going to be cheating.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to avoid. So I guess the end all of this is that you probably don't want to rely on well, it's a judgment call and hope for good judgment, because have you met some of your professors? Good heavens, they got PhDs in computer science. They're crazy.
My teacher in English.
Yeah, I mean,
How do you suffer through English for that long?
I see it. You've been suffering it your whole life.
Like even me, keyword suffering.
point better. To be raising that issue and asking, because you know, at the very least, you're showing that you are concerned about the topic. And, you know, let them address it then, but
It's a good question to ask during your first class. You know, does anybody have any questions? I do.
yeah,
Just ask it right then. You know, what's your policy on how we can use AI? You know, can we use it for research? Can we paraphrase? Can we cite small sections? You know, and just ask them. Communication's your friend. Every teacher's gonna have some thoughts about it. And if they don't, you're gonna at least get them to say, that's a good question. Let me think about it. I'll get back to you.
And every teacher should have just an acceptable use policy
Mhm.
going forward. Doesn't have to be big, just.
Has to
here's
be
the acceptable
somewhere.
use.
Yeah.
Well, also like most teachers at this point, like will openly tell you like at the beginning of the class their feelings on AI. Like in my first week of one of Mrs. Scaffidi's writing classes, research paper writing. So research. She openly stated like if you like you cannot use AI because AI doesn't cite its sources. In my composition class, he openly stated his feelings.
Yep.
Like most teachers at this point give their feelings on AI. In computer science, slightly less so because the field of IT is riddled with like you use every tool at your disposal to learn. So it's much more of a gray area. It's harder.
But it should be just like a short acceptable use policy.
Yeah, true.
That's clear. It's not,
Yeah.
for each class, the acceptable use is gonna be.
Yeah.
So I think the only way to win the game is to not make assumptions. That's, to ask them. If you don't know what their acceptable use policy is, ask. We get to the CDC, don't make assumptions. If you're thinking about doing something that you don't know would be acceptable, go ask the white team, right? That's the only thing. You shouldn't do anything until you know the white team says it's okay. Otherwise, if we didn't talk to the white team last year, we would have used containers and we would have been last place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but not there.
Because it's too good,
Yeah.
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 No, I
The red-
understand why they.
The red team has to have a chance within
Yeah.
8 hours, right?
Yeah.
They're competing too, sort of. They have flags they're trying to capture and things. It has to be interesting for them. They don't want to look and say, let's go to Pizza Hut, so.
Yeah, that's like a real world
Mhm.
distinction versus CDC. Like CDC teaches you countless cyber defense skills, but there are certain things that you cannot that you can learn, but you cannot actually implement in the CDC due to like the red team only has 8 hours. We like they don't have a week.
Container
to figure this
elevation. It's hard, but it takes.
Yeah, it takes
And a lot of
a
A lot of small businesses just don't do it. They still have servers on site and they use those servers.
Yeah,
So-
no, that's
And we learn more,
Like
like you're saying. It's
Yeah.
just better for us as students. So, let's see here.
so just to close out this discussion. We teach a particular level of working on this, and we are perhaps less concerned about using various tools than your teachers may be. So you do want to make sure that you are checking with your teachers and identifying what their policies are. And I think just in general, if you say that you are using, these programs, they might not be happy, but they're probably not going to be, you're not going to get kicked out for it because you
Yeah.
just say, this is not entirely my work, and I've recognized that in what I turned in. Just as things to be aware of. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Was a great
Now,
discussion.
as a side note, I'm
That
loving this jazz in the background. I think it's jazz.
It was country when I
It's
got here, but
blues or jazz, but I'm loving like the sound system that they set up. It's super sweet.
I think it's blues.
Yeah.
I think it's green.
It sounds more blues to me than jazz, but
Fair enough.
that's great.
I was thinking, this made me think, when do I cite sources in my code? And I thought, well, it's very pragmatic. So the question is, when did I when have I relied on the source to the extent that, let me back up. One of the criteria of fair use, well, if you're going to try to get a patent, one of the criteria for a patent is that someone with expertise in the field hasn't already done the thing that's prior art, and somebody with expertise in the field wouldn't come up with the solution, right? So if I see a solution on someplace like Stack Overflow, and I think I wouldn't have come up with this, right? To me, that translates into, if I don't see this code, if I lose this code and I need to do the same thing some other time, or I look at this code and I'm like, what's going on? Or I need some insight into this because I won't understand this in X months or something, or I just want to grep through my source code and find all the references, right? Every place that says HTTP or something. I want to recognize that in my code, because if I release some of my code to open source, I want people to know where this came from. And I want myself to be able to find all of these. So like this whole function, add env path, there's 3 of these, add env, maybe there's just 2, add env path and a remove env path, I think. And so it manipulates your live path, which is trickier to do permanently from your session. So it doesn't just add something to the path for your session, it actually goes in and makes a permanent path change. And I didn't understand this well enough. I still don't think I could do it. I mean, look at, there's stuff here.
Goodness.
And I tried for a while, but I wouldn't have figured this out. So they deserved this. And if I ever share this, I shouldn't take credit for this, right? Mm-hmm. So if I share this at work or wherever, I want this here. It would not be right for me to claim this, and it wouldn't be fair use for me to share this with somebody and not say it was mine, right? Mm-hmm. So this is I think my rule. It's around fair use. And if I share my code, would it be wrong for me? It's the same thing. Is it wrong for me to pretend like, yeah, I did that? And I don't think a lot of people do this, but to me, it just seems like the right thing to do. So there's remove end path, same thing. Oh, there's a getter. That one I can do, by the way. But it was a set of 3. So I do that one from the command line. It's not that hard. The following, this one changed through different versions of PowerShell and stuff. And how can you tell if the current user is logged in as an admin? So I found this solution seems to be pretty stable. And it's tricky if you're using stuff, from the .NET API that's not in PowerShell, then there may be a PowerShell solution now, but at the time, well, already this is security.principal.windows principal, blah blah blah. That's all .NET.
Yeah, but not
It's a PowerShell thing, right? This is a .NET namespace.
Yeah, true. But PowerShell is also basically just a really,
what's the other one?
Powerful C# as well.
I don't know what that one is. I do know what that one is, but we don't need to talk about that. It's just trivia. So there's that. And,
that's really good, but I'll be honest, I've worked at a lot of companies and I've never seen that.
But yeah, it's good for the next person. It's good for the author,
exactly.
And it's good for me, right? So,
because if somebody wants to go trace back, even not just the ethics piece of where it came from, but to understand the research that went into that code is really good. I'm just saying I've never seen that.
I stun my boss once in a while with this, but I find that because when I give somebody a spreadsheet of data, I have a tab that says data, and I have a tab that says SQL. And I put my SQL on there, and it's sometimes really complicated. And he's like, Chris, I don't know anybody who does this. And I'm like, Scott, they're going to ask for this again. And they're going to say, can you do whatever you did to give me this data? And I've saved a copy of this spreadsheet. Do you think I'm going to want to figure this out again?
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, oh, so it helps you too. I say, yeah, it helps me too. They're not going to want it. I want it. Right.
Yeah, true.
So the transparency it makes you look
Oh,
good,
yeah.
but half the time it's better for you than the other person, so.
I love-
Okay.
I love ethical discussion so much. I love debates a lot.
Debating is
Debating is awesome.
Oh, well,
Yes.
debating is fun when both sides, their heads are straight. One side loses their cool. I can't, it's not that I can't stand arguments, but
Yeah.
why am I wasting my time with a discussion that when
Yeah,
I
but
lose, yeah,
It's no longer a debate.
yeah, arguments.
The debaters make arguments. That's what they do. I think debating's great, except for people that like debate.
Somebody's trying to sort of post trouble.
Speaking of power struggles and people, a dictator. I couldn't even say the word asserting, but that fell apart fast. Oh, no. This is off limits until noon. So
Noon, we return to discovery.
Yes.
Batman. Okay. We return.
Batman bad.
okay,
Wait, it ended with a bat?
so
Batman bad.
it's off limits.
Oh, no.
Maybe you missed that.
Steve, it is difficult.
Wow, that's Axel's exit music.
I don't know. That would be
Yeah,
considering that would be.
that was so great.
Oh, that was stupendous.
Oh, that was incredible.
Okay, I did mention in Zulip last night, I got the recording for 14th of September up. There's our fancy Team 5 logo. I did change the title slide this year substantially. Last year, I just changed the colors and made it very hard to read on purpose because, you know, cyber defense is a stealthy thing.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, so that's the big change.
Slide's pretty good. I like it.
Oh, you saw?
I saw it, yeah.
If you watch it, there are subtle changes to the slide as it moves on,
Okay.
including there's subtle transitions to the audio as the meeting starts to get out of hand, which is what usually happens at the end. People just start talking about Batman and
Batman.
and since I'm mixing the audio,
That's the first one.
you're a good guy. You're a good guy. Back to this. And since I'm mixing the audio, I get to do any passive aggressive stuff I want with the audio toward the end of the meeting.
That's fair.
It's an Easter egg, I guess.
Dictatorship.
Except what do you call an Easter egg if it plops out of a cow? Anyway, but
What?
Cow.
an Easter pie. So yeah, this is up.
Get him over the music.
Yeah.
I'm still so quickly. So I'm leaving. Close the door.
Whoa.
Stuff.
All right.
Legendary.
So we had some homework here, basically to keep working on your VM. I posted just for fun some metal levels, including what was it? Unobtainium. Yes.
I thought that was fun.
I don't know.
Next to it's.
I got unobtainium,
Yeah.
obviously, or I wouldn't have put it there.
College was kicking my butt this week, so
Uh-huh.
I'm planning on setting it up later today on my.
Yeah, I think WPAD is it's a learning exercise, right? We don't need
Yeah.
it.
Well, because it's a learning exercise and it's something I don't know. Like
Yeah, exactly.
I need to figure out.
Yep. That's our advanced curiosity assignment there for you.
Yeah.
So everybody get a chance. Everybody see this announcement first of all. Is this new to anybody? Okay. How many people got so how many people have a VM that's functioning like you can start it at this point? Show of hands. Axel.
Mine after.
Okay. That's
Minimal.
That's fair. That's why I'm asking the questions. So of the people not named Axel, if you raise your hand on one of these next ones, I'm going to be really impressed. It's like, wow, Axel, that was fast.
Speed running. I see him going. He's
Yeah.
cooking.
So,
Going.
and how many of you hit the bronze level, which is your VM gets an IP address from DHCP? You've got it in the right subnet, and you can ping that address, which is our router, right?
I didn't even try with DHCP.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Yes, or I should say, or you skipped DHCP, I guess. If you're at a higher level, that works. Yeah. You got the DHCP working. Tristan, you're doing DNS. That's cool. And so you've got DHCP working from the as a DHCP server. So, cool. Well done. How many people? Let's see. Have bronze? How many people got to silver? Outstanding. Oh, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Curl works. We get work.
Curl works is the is key. I have a really interesting observation about curl, and don't let me forget this. Curl and
WGET?
a
We get. As we call it.
apt working.
I like we get.
I didn't expect it to work on my server, and it does. Don't let me forget that.
I'm surprised mine worked without configuring the proxy again.
Well, that's it. I didn't configure anything for apt, and it works.
Yeah, I was perplexed on how
It was like,
worked, but it
Before I even exported HTTP proxy, and
that's I figured out that export those environment variables are for
Those
how is that?
are for
Okay, so maybe they're not using HTTP. Okay, so apt. So Henry's going to look this up. Or, oh no, I misinterpreted. I thought you heard a question. You're like, good. Okay, what was gold? Network config works for every user, not just yours. Apt, it's right here. Apt update and upgrade -- yes, run. You can curl google.com and everything works after a reboot. Who got this far? Isaac's like, yeah.
Does that mean like if we delete /@seal fix itself?
That's what I said. No, that's we're not to platinum yet, isn't it a platinum? So we should probably talk about apps, since that'll be new for some of us. As soon as I find that is so small. How did I do this last time? If I make it smaller, the text gets closer. Kind of. What if I make it full screen? Not really. Oh well.
not wheel. I made it to flat. I can add another ball work.
small ice, made up to unobtainium, whatever it's called.
I can net plan it'll.
Yeah.
I can remove my net plan config.
Yeah, I tried.
Just don't do net plan apply.
I mean,
For all that is good and holy, don't do net plan apply.
I try avoiding net plan anyway.
Okay.
Understand it or like it.
I prefer using network manager.
I just prefer
I'm
you
used to
using
that.
config IP add
Okay.
IP adder.
So
read
focus on the dictator. Yeah. Okay, we have newly minted gold medalist here.
You didn't know how to use curl quite.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. So apt is well, you probably all know, right? Isaac, you know about apt? APT? Yeah. So you've been using Linux. Have you been using Ubuntu? I didn't even ask. Excellent.
Apt is short for the apt package tool.
Yeah.
It had super cow powers.
Yeah, it does.
Just one app. It will say at the end, this app has super cow powers.
And
Not all versions of that.
not all of the apt utilities, but we may show off the super cow powers later because there are actually cows involved. But yeah.
Cow say.
Yeah, I went in the apt app.
Oh dear.
I
haven't dug that.
It's easy to find.
There it is.
So let's see, I'm gonna clear here. I'm gonna,
Uh-oh.
this was full screen not long ago. Oh, now it was, and now it isn't. Doink. Now it just doesn't like me. Let's click on something that's not. Oh, well, that's how it is now. So now I broke it. I'm going to turn myself into root. All right. I'm going to try to turn myself back into full screen. I guess that I don't have a full screen anymore. Well, that's the way that goes. So you probably know that before you upgrade or install anything in app, you're supposed to what first? Okay, it's like, what do you do before you run app upgrade or app install? You know?
RM-RF /
Don't ever listen to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, please never run.
The reason it's the wrong answer is because you can't run app update after you do that.
Yeah. External issues.
No. That's why I was wondering. It's not always pointed out well. That's why I was checking. The thing you run is apt update and Isaac.
That would apply back into.
There you go. Oh, it's why Isaac? Why do you run apt update?
Why do you run apt update?
I asked you
Update
first.
repository.
What's that mean?
So it goes out to some FTP server, requests what versions of packages that are available, and it'll compare it to the ones you have installed and sees what you have out of date.
That's apt upgrade, isn't it?
No, upgrade is actually going and grabbing those packages
Okay.
and sticking them into your binaries.
So when you said it doesn't just look at the packages I have installed. What is it updating? Anybody except Henry?
Accepting the package list.
A package list. You said, I think you
Your
used
your
repository.
repositories. Yeah, it updates what you have at what you
Illegals.
It's basically a list of, okay, here are the packages. I know where they are. So like, I know that if I want to update curl, I go here. If I want to update Kristen's school program, I go here.
Mythologically famous. It's a legend.
Yes. Dude, it's the
I would not
most-
recommend installing it unless you have like immense IT skills.
So
But basically you have that list on your machine. So when you run apt upgrade, it goes through, well, I have this piece of paper, let me go down the list.
Mhm.
But let's say I have to update Tristan's school program, I need to go to the paper says to go to tristanribble.com. But the thing has changed. It's actually ribbletristan.com. Now, the piece of paper on my computer says, uh-oh, it's not there. Therefore, we're gonna break that. So basically what running apt update does, it goes through the list and says, okay, let's make sure that all the things on this piece of paper are actually correct.
And the dependent packages too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
There we go. There we go. So click there. I had to look this up real fast.
Using
So-
AI.
I did because I don't worry about ethics when I'm with you guys. So let's see, packages in,
Not a problem if you cite it.
and I just did. Okay, so I don't know let me see here, file, let's just get one of them.
That is a lot of repositories.
Every package has its own repo.
Jammy.
Thanks.
Well, no. That's every one of those is its like own FTP archive. Sort of. Or HTTP.
They're all a server, and then it goes.
Is this the first?
Oh, that was unintentional.
If it's the first on there, I think that it basically like goes. What I think it does is I think that it basically goes like every single that it gets everything. It then knows that now that I'm fully up to date on literally every single server that's out there, I then know to only use these. four.
Okay. So this is the
Wait, Debbie. He's
Yeah.
talking.
yeah, isn't it? So this is part of one of the pieces of the local catalog. I think the local piece is called the catalog. It's probably too small to see up there, but if you're watching the screen share, it should be better. Notice that it's got a package name, which in this case are the 0AD data packages. It's a game that the history, you can relive or rewrite the history of Western civilizations. That sounds useful. I wonder, does that take effect after a reboot?
What I would expect it to.
When you rewrite the history of Western civilization. But
You can modify that, but it's just gonna update.
Except, does it?
then it'll say
the
Western
written history?
civilizations are out of date, you run apt upgrade and it all comes back.
But does it edit the written history or the actual history? Like what actually happened or just what's written down?
And linguistics major is the right difference.
Now, I don't know where. Okay. Hang on, let me try something here. Okay. So here's a package. Like, oh, this would be fun. I found a way to paste into these windows, but I'm not telling. But I can't copy out of them, so it doesn't help. When a package has dependencies, like Chad said, it'll list the dependencies. So this one, which is in beautiful purple, US Archive, Ubuntu, blah, 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 blah. It's listing some package, and at line 2692, whatever package it's in the middle of it says it depends on Thermald and AC Pica tools. So, and the one above it depends on any version of Pica or Python 3. libc6, which has to be greater than or equal to version 2.34. It's hard to see oh, you can kind of see my cursor there. So it gives you version information as well as the package name. So this is where all that stuff resides, and it's cached dependency and package information. And that's why back in the olden days, instead of running the executable apt for everything, we would run apt cache. And it was it was a separate executable for manipulating the local cache of the repository information. But now we just run apt so that we are more confused and have to explain this to people. But yeah, you run apt cache or apt, see, you run apt update. I think you can still run apt cache update.
Yeah, you can.
And this is updating all those files we just saw. These names should look kind of familiar because they map onto those file names we just looked at. And if you don't do this, the problem is that you've got all these package names and dependency information and whatnot. And you can go ahead and say, okay, I want to install something now. And so I'll go ahead and install. Let me make sure it's not already installed. Oh, it is.
Web tools.
Let's uninstall it. Apt remove. Links.
Apt purge.
You can go
Wait,
ahead
hold
and
on.
do that.
What if you do apt purge then glob? Does it like know to like stop, or does it just like remove everything?
Then I'm not hiring you.
These kind of questions. I'm not hiring you.
Boot up a
You
VM,
can
find
try
out.
that on your VM. Well, that's
Have a purge glove.
other years we've taken an early session and to show the value of snapshots. We've
Yes.
said, let's see what we can do. How much can we do before you can't use it, right?
Which is surprisingly.
Surprisingly,
quite
there's a lot you can do, right? Because if you're using a file, Linux will keep it in memory, keep your reference in memory.
Yeah.
Until you
Yeah.
close the file. Yeah. I used this to back up an Oracle database once where the files had all been deleted, but Oracle was still running. So I told Oracle to take a backup and then we shut it down. And so I put all the files back. That was fun. Yeah, so I'm going to install this thing that I just deleted. And so that's apt install links. Isaac, I have a feeling Isaac knows what this is. Do you?
Oh, links.
Isaac, do you know about this?
I have no idea what
Links package or anything.
No, you know what app install is, right? Yeah, but links is this is links. I'm gonna say I want to go to google.com. It's a text-based web browser. And so
Love our text-based web browser.
we do, always allowing cookies from.
You can trust those cookies.
Did you notice I had to allow cookies from google.com and then I had to allow them from www.google.com? Your curl command should tell you why that happens. But so now I have to do I tab right arrow to normal link, up or down to move. That's right. I'm gonna go down.
That's converting the HTML and.
It's
Okay,
rendering.
basically,
It's a rendering engine, just like
That's not running
the
JavaScript,
Chromium,
right?
just like the Chromium
About
engine.
Man.
And so I'll say, what should we look for? How about Cedar Rapids area, homeschool, cyber defense. I don't know if this will work.
If
And
it's
then,
running JavaScript, then it will. Otherwise, it'll just like
Oops.
freak out, die.
Well, for some pages, it like.
Do I hit right arrow?
Link doesn't support JavaScript.
I think so.
Let's see what happens.
Tab 2 zeros or tab move off field, enter text by typing, control
Some pages
U.
wouldn't.
So does this mean
Doesn't tell you how to like submit.
right to allow a link, left to go back, use right arrow or return to submit? Here we go.
Holy crap, it works. So it does support JavaScript because otherwise that enter text field would have died or not really done anything.
But that JavaScript it's not on the page, right? It's just something that tells Google to do something. Now let's go to YouTube. Whoops.
Wait, how is that gonna work?
I don't think it will.
It won't. You don't have unless you like. You can only. It requires JavaScript to run.
Yeah.
Links doesn't have a JavaScript engine. The only CLI one that I could find.
Wait, if it doesn't. Wait, hold on. If it doesn't have a JavaScript engine, then how come it could, when he pressed enter, it could actually run? Because like
It's
pressing
all HTML.
HTML.
Well, that button's
No, no.
JavaScript.
Yeah.
It can be a JavaScript call.
Now, it can run JavaScript without rendering JavaScript. Those are two different
You have
things.
Spider Monkey installed?
I just wanted to do this. So
No. Like if
But
my memory
I don't
serves,
know.
Link doesn't have a JavaScript engine by default. You can install Spider Monkey and you got to
Yeah.
configure it in like E-links or something like that.
Yeah.
JavaScript isn't enabled by default.
I just wanted to make sure that young Kaizik knew that there's such a thing as a text-based web browser. So my like a decade ago or something, when I showed the team this, my son went to Facebook on here. And I think now Facebook does something reasonable with
You could browse Reddit still though.
yeah, maybe. Oh wow, that's a long URL. Hang on, be right with you. There we go.
At least old Reddit.
Better put the www in there, or heavens, I might get redirected.
Oh no.
Look. Well, I had to say yes to an extra cookie.
Oh, that's never good.
You're using a web browser that isn't supported by Facebook. That's fair, right?
Yep, yep.
Now it wants me to install Google Chrome. Yeah, what happened way back when Gabe tried this was the message wasn't that this isn't supported by Facebook. It said, your browser is not yet supported by Facebook.
Not yet.
That made a great screenshot.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But is hard at work on.
Yeah, well, would you like to be notified? Okay. So, oh yeah, there we go. How many people? Let's see, where's Zulip? There we go. That was gold. We got people on gold. Platinum, what was platinum? Everything works after reboot, even if somebody messed up your configuration. I heard Isaac, you said something?
I did say something that's
Yes,
true.
about this.
I'm
Yours works.
actually trying to get mine to work with Network Manager.
Mhm.
So we're gonna see if my reboot works. I'm hoping and praying I
Right.
put the config in correctly.
But you said
Guaranteed
that you had this working. Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know if they'll throw an error. I think it just plain won't work and it won't tell me why I did an error.
It's great. Everything's working.
Journal control.
Journal control, my favorite. We like journal
Go ahead.
control.
We do
Guys-
indeed.
Because the key is a different user, right?
With different user, that's important. In particular, though, the different user root, sometimes we've had it where people set it up and it won't work for root, and so then app won't work. If you pop up another regular user, should work there. The key for that is who wants to answer the question, what's the key to getting it to work for a new normal user, getting the network to work for a new normal user?
Global setting,
Global settings, and where might you put global settings?
etc.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Network Manager is great because you can just click the cute little box that says apply to all
Yeah.
users.
I did set up the desktop environment on my VM, but that's because I want to be able to copy my script out, and I couldn't figure out a good way to, like, I can't go to Dropbox inside that. But so global settings. Axel, I'm pretty sure I know what you mean, but you want to tell me where to go so that I'm not plagiarizing your work? Hang on, and I'll show.
I'm
Assume-
happy if you plagiarize it.
Yeah, hang on, I lost my console.
Happy is not the same thing as permission.
Well, I guess I'll quit links here.
Separate thing.
Okay,
Why are you
all right.
using-
So you want me to just, I
Go
think
use
you
up-
mean to go into et cetera. And so Isaac, there's a couple files in here. One is, there are a lot of files, a couple of interests here. One is called Etsy profile, CD. Yeah. And
Yeah.
this for Bash, your profile is run every time. Oh gosh, I might get this wrong. The profile is run once every time you start a session, whether it's a login session or not, I believe. And there's another one here called Bash RC. No, but there is. What? Oh, I can't type cat today. Isn't it called Bash RC?
There is,
Bash RC.
That would be bashrc.bash.
Maybe, let's see. So where did I put mine? Drop for it again. And these are my favorite. Spells the name of a river in German. And we're looking for probably this.
Oh my.
Yeah. Oh, I keep wanting to scroll.
Yeah.
Those are all commented out. Oh, I put it in. Okay. So there's this environment. Yeah. So that's where I put it. So I'll get back to those other two files in a second. Okay. So there's this other file, and this is just global environment variables. If you put stuff in here, it gets inherited by everybody's environment variables. And so I went ahead and just put these 3 proxy variables here. And that makes the proxies work for everybody, to the best of my knowledge. You always have to, there may be asterisks around everything, but that's the only.
If you set up that user, right, it's only that profile.
Yeah, so this is like the global default. Now, I said I get back to the those 2 files, the one that has the name profile and the other one has a name that involves the string --rc. I'm going to go back to my normal self, and you can see I'm in my home directory. And if I look here, you can see that I have a file called .profile and another one called .bashrc. And these are like local versions for my user. Does it copy .profile when I create a new user? Copy? I don't know. It's a good question. It is a good question. What's in my .profile? How about, do I have ICDiff? Of course I don't. Do I want to run diff? Okay, diff side by side. Their .profile first. And then my profile. Those are not the same. Okay, so I think that the system profile runs, and the system profile will invoke, you see where my cursor is? It'll invoke that bashrc that's in Etsy. And so that'll run. And then my profile will run, and it'll invoke my .bashrc. And I think that, and somebody can check me on this, but I think the profile scripts only run when a session starts. And the bashrc, RC stands for resource. I forgot. Resource. And
So
off starts with a C, right?
bashrc runs startup penny shell. But if I remember, profile runs at a login shell.
That makes sense. Profile, but what if it's not so if it's not a login shell, but bashrc will run every time you start like a new window in terminal or you log into a new screen. You'll always get bashrc to run. Profile should not have anything in it that creates visible output that goes to standard out, because that will make fun.
Yeah, because the difference is if you have a remote shell.
Well, yeah,
Well, no,
profile.
if you run at the login shell, which is the kind that had login problems.
Well, I think profile can run. We should look it up. I think profile can run when there's not a TTY. But there's I'm trying to remember, and I'm not certain. So we'll look that up. When I say we, I mean somebody. I don't know. But if we forget, then we'll look it up later. All right. You know where they are? You know?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Just give a nod when you come back in.
Would you give a nod?
Give a nod.
I thought you said a nod. Give a nod. All right. 11:09, a little bit later than I'd hoped. Like 9 minutes later than I was.
I stole time and I didn't tell you beforehand, so sorry.
My bad.
Oh, no, that's kind of counting on us having something to do at the beginning. I just repaired my mouse and it is too fast for me. It used to be fast twitch. Okay, so we'll wait. If he gets back quickly. And I'm gonna install IC diff.
I hate typing this out.
If anybody else needs to hit the room, it's probably a good time to do it. Hit the head. Woof.
That word is listed.
So.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
currently I'm driving you home.
okay. But yeah, have we discussed carpools or the cyber thing on the 18th?
Maybe not.
That actually.
So let's,
Was that the 18th?
can we push that back though?
Yeah.
Let's do that talk. Later. Okay, the reason I installed IC you saw what diff looked like, and that's using the parameter side by side, which like nobody remembers is there. And so that's actually the very attractive output of diff. IC diff, it's such because it doesn't have a side by side option, it doesn't need it. Looks like this, and it actually looks more like, a diff screen. So isn't that nice? You know about IC diff? It actually, looks like it's trying to do a diff, except these two are too much different, right? But you can see it actually found some commonalities here. Those are the gray parts. I don't know. I just think it's different. I love it. I plug it into Git as my Git diff tool. So then it never tries to load some GUI. Well, in Windows, I use Beyond Compare. Okay. So I'll show you what I've got for my nominee for unobtainium level. Who else thinks they got unobtainium level?
Working on it.
That's good. Okay.
I think I've got it, but
Yeah. Yeah. So what we do at GoDaddy to mimic unobtainium is, one thing we do is with our app servers and other infrastructure is we have containers, right? And we just throw them away every day, right? We repeatedly throw them away. And that way, if something went wrong with one that's running, we don't restart anything. We just throw it away and get a new one. And that way, when security patches come out, we just throw away the ones that don't have the patch and start new ones. So that's probably real common best practice. The other thing we do is we have, of course, we monitor everything very closely, and if something looks wrong, that could be a hint that we need to throw it away and get a new one. Yep.
.2
Yes.
up until 2.
Oddly, I had a naming convention at home once that was to name everything off after famous cows. It was before that whole thing about pets and cattle. That was hard. It was a hard one.
.0 is taken by the.
I figured it was taken.
.0 is taken by the.
I've got
Exactly.
I've got a list of those. I've got a list of those.
Yeah. Now, what was I talking about? That's the problem. It's one of the problem. Yeah, treat them like cattle. Oh, what do we do at work? Yeah. Hey guys, if you're doing something else, can you also listen to me? But also not talk. Please try to remember. I think I mentioned this. I'm autistic. So if all of a sudden there's 3 conversations in the room, I can't remember which one I'm trying to have. So it's just a fun.
Yep.
Yeah, you knew that. Wasn't sure if I mentioned that this year though. So we'll do that. We use most places. There's still a few places that use Chef, and they're going away. We use this thing called Puppet. I think you mentioned that. And with Puppet, our clients, Puppet is one of the good things about Puppet is that what is Puppet would be a good place to start. Puppet is a orchestration or infrastructure automation tool. And so you can tell the Puppet master So there's a place we won't have to get rid of the word master. But you can tell the puppet master that, hey, this set of servers needs to take this action. And then the puppets will poll the puppet master periodically and say, hey, do you have any work for me? And so if there's a security patch that needs to come out or something like that, we'll tell the puppet master, please inform these servers that, something has to happen. And so, between all of that, we try to keep things kind of buttoned down. But it's really hard. I mean, none of that will actually protect against an on-premise server, an OpenStack server or something, if somebody actually got in and messed with the network configuration, right? Because what we don't have is something necessarily reconfiguring the network. We use static configurations. So this is not necessarily a realistic exercise I put in front of you. Usually for servers, the idea is you give them static network configurations because you don't want anything to depend on DHCP for your servers. If you were using DHCP, you'd give them all static reservations anyway. So every time they talk to DHCP, they'd get the same IP. And so it'd be just like they had static address anyway.
Or what you could do is what I briefly thought about is setting up what's called, I think it's called dynamic DNS, which is where every single time a DHCP lease goes out, the DHCP server updates the DNS server, inserting it into the DNS zone. So everybody can use DNS, and then all you have to do is then specify like DC1 dot. However, the problem is that if DNS goes down, you are screwed.
Yeah,
because you don't know where.
I think what Chris is talking about is managing configuration drift. Right?
Yeah.
So you don't ever want your servers to change IPs.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Because there are clients we have clients that can't access the DNS infrastructure. And sometimes, you just don't want the IPs to change. And the firewalls, some of the network gear is configured by IPs. So we'll have our network policies that are laid out in YAML files. And in the YAML files, there's mappings from names to IP addresses, but what gets configured into the network gear is the IP address. And so if the servers change IPs, the policy won't do what it's supposed to do. It'll be undefined. So, right, because you won't know what servers where.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So,
you don't know where.
Yeah, what you're saying is cool and it's useful in some situations. A good way to save on, like if you're over allocated on IPs, to just be giving out IPs to the people that are here right now, and to track them by name. I'm a big fan of using names, but not for your servers, not for your line of business servers, which is kind of what we'll be configuring, right? So
the exception of Docker. Your containers again.
Yeah, yep. So, but not your
Now you're,
not the thing that gets addressed. Yeah. So let's see here. I'm using. Let me see if I can just show you stuff. So I'm looking at this for a little bit. So NetPlan. My NetPlan has a single 70-NetPlan set YAML. And if you look at that, it's short and sweet. I've got 144.76.90.64, 24-bit network. So the network is 144.76.90.anything will be on my subnet. You can see I've got the name server pointed at the right spot. I've got my route pointed at the right, my default route pointed at the right spot. If I ask IP for the route, you can just do this. IP is an executable that'll show you all sorts of stuff. And you can see my default route is the same thing because by the way, these NetPlan files don't have to match your current reality. That's just what's going to happen if NetPlan does its thing. So my route is in agreement right now with NetPlan. If I look at my IP address, And I think I can say one line. Oh gosh, now I've committed to something. Show global. Let's just do that. Oh, it goes over here. I'm trying to learn new stuff. So you can see I've got that 144, 76, 90, 64 also agrees with my netplan file. I think everything agrees with my netplan file. What am I not showing? Oh, resolve conf. This is where you can find out what your name server is. Mine is 199, 116.100, also in agreement with my netplan file. Cool. So now I'm going to mess mine up. This is the fun part, right? Break stuff. So in order, let's see. The first thing I had was IP route. Let's do IP. I'm going to do them in order so that I can hopefully see stuff before it scrolls off the screen. First thing I showed you was IP route. So I'm going to say IP route delete default. And that'll go away. So if I say IP route, it's not there anymore. I've got this is a route for my subnet. It says 144.7690.0/24. That's my local subnet. And it says ENS 192 is my network card device. You can see it up there a couple of times previously. And then at the end, we'll just say it. If you jump to the end, you can see that I hit that route by using my local address. So all that one means is that if it's on my local subnet, I go directly to it using my own network card. I suppose I could get rid of that one, but I don't have that one. Well, there are a few things I didn't get to. One of them would be replacing that. That one might pop up automatically though. What else? What was next? After IP route, what did I show you? My address, right? How do I change that? How do I change my address on the fly? I think I knew recently. Well, I know how to change it in NetPlan, if I can remember. NetPlan. Oh, let's see. I'll do it manually. I did this a few days ago. I had to look it up. I don't want to make you wait for me to look it up. But there's a utility for NetPlan where you can tell it to update your
It's
file.
not something you do all the time.
It is not something I do all the time.
You just don't go
Yeah.
on servers.
Yeah. What else? After I'll take care of I'll just go into that file and update stuff. For the name server, this one's not too hard, I don't think. DNS, and then I think I have to give it my network card device. And then I can say that I want it to be what would be a bad name server?
Tools.com.
No, it has to be an IP. So we'll say 127.85. That's a 6. 54. Some local address that definitely doesn't work. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Some other non-routable. This is a private IP that can't be routed unless you have an explicit route for it. And I don't, so that's a good one. And so now if I run resolve control, it'll say that's my address. Now if I try to curl, this won't work.
Well, you took out your default gateway earlier.
I did. So there's a couple of reasons
work.
this won't work. And now just to make this better, let's go into Etsy NetPlan. Get this guy. Oh, there we go. And we'll say that my network version is 3.14. Oops, come on. Because I like mine. And my address is, pick a number between 1 and 254.
255.
Okay, guys.
It doesn't matter. No right or wrong answer.
116.
Really? Excellent. Henry, number between 1 and 255.
13.
Oxel,
0. We're gonna do 160.
number between 1 and 254.
253.
All right, so that's my address now.
Isn't that only?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't. I asked 4 of you. How did I do this? Because I forgot that. Okay. Actually, well, so what? Hang on. That's fine. That's cool. And in fact, just in the interest of, yeah, okay, that's good. And yeah, we're breaking stuff, right? And we'll go ahead and just, I don't care about routes. There we go. So this is now my net plan configuration file. Would we agree that that looks broken?
Yeah.
And my current network configuration is broken? So we'll reboot. This worked once.
This is the unobtainium. So reboot, it should work.
It was unobtainium on Wednesday. We'll see about today.
That's a matter of your profiles, default profiles configurations are set up.
I actually, it involved a voodoo doll, ginseng root, and a dartboard.
And a dartboard.
Except me.
If it boots at a regular cadence, then it's probably okay.
Yeah, stuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Release and everything.
No, there's no DHCP. Not for unobtainium. It's taking a little while. Oh, this is making me nervous, man.
Hosted network name lookups.
Yeah, we're fine. I gotta say that.
Wait for that.
Gold obtained.
All right.
got
Maybe I
network
broke it
manager
too
to
well.
work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not
my
good.
Solution wasn't working.
I'm adding docs to use net plan, so
Oh, is it?
we'll see if someone.
See, that's a
actually-
bad thing. This is not
Yeah,
supposed to happen.
Our job is.
Yeah, network. So what's happening here is in your when this slows down and you can actually read it, every now and then you'll see so it's waiting for, these are targets in the config. And do we have one that says it was reached anywhere? I see one. The cool thing about this is that there's no limit on how long this will wait.
That's the tool.
You know, I've noticed on my, and I don't understand why, but sometimes. Yeah, let's see. Well, I swear there've been a couple of times when I installed something on this and had to reinstall it, which doesn't make any sense. And I'm waiting to get something I can actually measure and prove.
How do I?
Got it out of this infinite wait before. Let's.
Like, I can't figure out how to approve a pull request.
So review, you go to files change, review changes, approve.
Files change. Review changes.
Yeah, you look at continued.
Where's pull request?
And yeah, I have tested it. It works on, at least it works on my VM.
There you go.
It works on my VM.
Hey, look, you got 2 good reviews.
Well, what did you do?
And now we delete them.
Don't delete the brand,
Don't delete it.
because I might add more config for it down the road.
Oh,
Automatic proxy.
this is my first reboot since I added that. That's the problem. I don't want that though. So that could be the reason for the long wait that I didn't expect. Let's just say it is and soldier on.
Look at those.
What is LPG?
Looks good to me. Yeah, I
Pretty
know.
standard.
I know I messed it.
Okay.
I'm fully aware I messed it.
All right.
I know.
I know I messed it up.
Back to the man with the clap on. Okay.
No.
So there's still hope here. Remember I said I installed the Ubuntu desktop. This is the first time I rebooted since then. So it could have introduced the wait. I have no idea. And so that means I have no idea if this is going to work. Let's just shoot for the moon here. Nope. Okay, so let's see what's going on.
Do you have HTTP? You have
Yeah.
your proxy settings configured?
Well, here, let me,
Because I smell a proxy problem.
How do you smell proxy?
you know,
Not bad. Stop asking silly questions.
I never did the question.
Not asking. Oh. Well. Well.
There it
No,
is.
We have, yeah.
You're out.
There.
What?
So it didn't work. I just patched it by running the script.
The profile.
I do need it.
Yeah, I ran the thing that was supposed to run, basically. Oh no, I think maybe I ran the wrong script. But here's the deal. Here's how it should work. Okay, we're good. Here's how it should work. And this is something, well, actually, hang on. We'll look at why it didn't work first. And so inside and for the rest of this time today, what I want to get us started on is starting to look towards scripting so that for some amount of time into the future, we're going to be looking more at at Bash as a shell. And instead of watching me type rando commands that maybe you do, maybe you don't know, we'll start to get a little more methodical about that. I think one of our issues is to build or find a cheat sheet for Linux. And so we'll do that. Henry.
I think finding is a lot easier than making.
I'm down for making it though.
It is, but the other thing,
Let's do it.
the other thing that is useful,
Go.
and we should probably capture some of this we should have a tribal knowledge page or something in our docs, but there's a package called, and I'm going to do apt update, even though I just did. I don't think they update this more than once a day, do they? So now I'm just being a bad citizen. We should check the cadence on this. I know there's one OS that says, please don't do this more than once a day. But I'm going to install something called TLDR. I've never seen this thing before. No VM guests are running outdated hypervisor binaries.
Yeah, that's new.
Until I got to this environment. But does it happen on does it happen
on mine? But the cool thing is that mine checks if my processor microcode is up to date too. For some reason.
So
you know.
the TLDR, what do you have to do at first? Does it just automatically build its index? I went to my own account.
You need to do that view for update.
Okay. I think it tells you though. So like if I try to do, so TLDR is like man pages, but they're brief and they tell you about the most common use cases. So if you don't know how to use the ls command, you say TLDR ls and it says, there we go, no entry. Is there a man page for TLDR? Because that'd be kind of funny. There is.
There's
So
also a TLDR,
but I don't have TLDR yet. So
yeah, update.
yeah, but so you do that because you know. But if you don't know, you look at the man page, and the man page says, hey, there's a -- update command. And so before you can actually use TLDR, you have to run that TLDR dash update. And ooh. Oh, okay, so I need, that's weird.
Cool. Oh, so nicely.
Yeah, so to do this, you have to include that. You can make it one directory at a time, but if you say -P, it means make all of the parent directories that you need.
Which contains shared files for your programs as local storage.
So I just made this whole home Chris.local share TLDR. So let's try this again. I'm surprised it didn't do that on its own. I don't ever remember having to make that in the past. But once you do that, then you can do things like say, what's a grep is a good one. Grep's simple though.
If you're feeling fancy, you can talk.
But then it'll show you, if you just want to search for a pattern in a file, you use grep and then put double quotes around a search pattern and then tell it the path to the file. So, easy use cases. It doesn't get into, the search pattern can be a regex, and here let's give you a regex tutorial. Yeah. It tells you if you want to use an exact string instead of a pattern, you tell it -- fixed strings. So, you're looking for an actual asterisk instead of using an asterisk as a wildcard. Yeah. So that's grep. What's something, well, actually, LS is not a bad one, right? So they tell you what all the common flags mean, and they usually fit on one screen as opposed to man pages.
Summary.
Yeah, they leave stuff out, and you'll see things. You'll want stuff on here that isn't there, but then you pull up the man page, right? So back to
Can you merge my PR?
Yeah, it'll say it doesn't have your directories which files. So
what's that?
there's a flag you can pass it to like a group directories files.
See, there's stuff that it doesn't show. There's a lot of flags for all that. I'm not going to say anything. So what I did with my attempt at unobtainium, which is apparently broken, is I made a service for this. And making a service is not as tricky as it sounds in Linux. And so I wanted to show you that. And so the rest of the class, we got 20 minutes, is I'm going to show you how I made a service, and then we'll talk about scripting going forward. And so if I go into Etsy systemd, assuming this thing didn't do anything funny, I have had weird things happen with this VM, and I'm not sure what I'm doing to cause it. But I'm going to use ls with a combination of flags -L, which is files 1 per line. If you leave that off, you just get this grid of file names. -A, list all files, including hidden files. In Linux, files are considered hidden for the weak reason they begin with a dot in their name. Then -LA, okay. TR, the time is what I want to sort by, and I want to go in reverse order. Putting those together gives you the handy, easy to remember name combination of arguments later. I want to see them I want to see the long version. I want to see all the files, and I want to see them sorted by time in reverse order. And somehow this really makes sense to me to say later, although the ones I see at the bottom are going to be earlier. No, they're going to be later, whatever. It sorts them by time. And so you can do this. So I'm in system D. Services that we write go into the system folder. That's kind of where I thought I was, sorry. So I'm going to go there, do the same command. And yeah, where's mine? Oh, there it is. Oh, they must all get touched when stuff happens. So I'm gonna, yeah, but a whole bunch of them are touched since mine, so that's kind of weird. So here's mine. It's called init network. Oh yeah, there's a swap file. I need to fix this. Some of this I had to investigate which my dependencies, but basically the only part that I'm responsible for here is this exec start, where I have user sbin and init network.sh. The rest of it, this is a description. I'm customizing network settings that will show up in the D message or whatever the output that is crashing past you when the thing is starting up. The after and once, I say it has to go after network pre and network online targets. And it also wants those to be in place, and it wants system D, network D, wait online. That's the one that was taking too long. I was actually waiting for that one. There's a type, and one shot apparently is a good type. It means we want this thing to run, and don't worry if it doesn't start back up. It's a one-time deal. It's supposed to run and be done. And then this one is wanted by multi-user target. That means that the computer won't come up in multi-user mode until this one runs. Okay. And that's it. So, you know, this is largely boilerplate. And yes, I told Copilot that I had this script that I wanted to modify the network. I wanted it to run after the network was available, because I was wanting to modify it, but before users were going to be using it. And it said, you should run after network pre and network online, and you should have wants for that. You should have wanted by multi-user. And then I added the third one on wants. So that's the service. Excuse me. That's the service definition. That's all there is to it. And it's going to run whatever I've got in user sbin in init network. So I'll show you that.
Yeah, there's more things passing.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep it.
Sbin is secure binaries that can only be in the runtime root.
Gotcha.
They're considered to be trusted.
Now here's the script that either didn't run or failed at startup. And you can see all I'm doing is just rebuilding, right? I'm rebuilding my net plan. And so I'm saying this is a bash script at the top. By the way, if you're new to scripting or you've ever wondered what this is, this thing at the top, we call it a shebang line usually.
Bang.
And
Shebang.
I used to have an
Bang.
twang. I used to have an email signature that if you read this out loud, it's #bang/bin/bash, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
so I had this email signature that said, spelled out, not like this, said #bang/bin/bash. And underneath said, is this a shell script or a Batman comic? Which we'll get to you guys later. But yeah. So SetEx is yeah, well, it's not an octathorpe, but which is what C# has, but and yet they use anyway. There are so many little tic-tac-toe boards in our set of runes. So I'm setting some variables, setting my CIDR, my IP address with its /24, my DNS servers, my gateway IP, just setting all of these in variables. My network device, I'm running something called LSHW, which can list all of the hardware. I'm telling it that I want only network stuff. I want it in JSON. Then I'm running JQ, which runs JSON queries and blah, blah, blah. And it pulls out basically that ENS 192, my device name for the network. We don't need to worry about that. I can show you later if you want. We can break it down. And then I'd run another command, date. And I'm telling date to output the current date. And this is just the ugliest thing in Linux. But all this is going to result in the date being output as YYY, year, 4-digit year, 2-digit month, 2-digit day, a T in the middle. Don't ask, don't tell. And And then 2-digit, I think, military, so 24-hour time, and it's seconds. And I'm using that to make a backup that I throw into temp that's got the date time on it as a suffix. And then I make excuse me, I make that name that I make a backup directory to put it in. And at this point, I'm setting an option here. We don't need the reason this line is there is in case there are no files that match my glob. If I didn't set that option, there would be an error if there were no files that match star.yaml in the net plan directory. Talk about that later, but I just want you to get an idea what's happening. I go to the net plan directory, I look at all the YAML files, and I can't highlight anything, and I move them into this, it's hard to see, but I move them into my backup directory I just made. Okay. And then after, so I got rid of that file altogether. And then I run I run 4 net plan commands, and then I run net plan apply. So when this works, it works.
And you have a backup.
And I have a backup of what I just broke. Yeah. So what happened here? To know what happened here, I have to run system control, and I can't remember the right parameters, but but I can get them, right? So, or not system control, I have to run general control, but the thing that controls services on Ubuntu is called system control. And so I can ask for the status of my service, which is
Service.
yeah. So I can say, give me the status of my init-network service. Yeah, it's off, but it also importantly show me this information here. And I thought it would show me the journal control command I need to run. No? Is it? Let's try it.
You can use TLDR.
Sometimes system control will show you TLDR. Let's see, journal cuddle. Oh wait,
Did you not update it? No, we did update.
not for root. Vacuum time. Oh, they don't. They don't have it here. Show all messages by a specific executable. I don't know if my service would be considered a specific executable or if it would be init. But let's see. Journal cuddle. Okay, well, let's just bring up the whole thing, shall we? What day is this? 28. So I'm going to search for that. There we go. And now I'm going to look for init-network / to search, just like you would in Vim. Oh, so this introduced a dependency cycle. So they deleted mine to break a cycle with network target. Found dependency on network target. So that's just the dependency cycles. So when it came up, that was a long wait. Apparently took it a good long time to figure out that this wasn't going to work. So this change, it's interesting. I think it might have happened because of me adding the desktop modules. That's a possibility, because it was working before then. So that's pretty interesting, actually. But then, running it after I was up was fine. So I'll fix the dependencies later. We don't need to do that now. But what I do want to talk about, we've got 10 minutes. How long do you guys want to stay? You guys have stuff? Somebody have a hard?
I
I
have,
mean, we have that behind there. That
Yeah,
we wanna
yeah.
Get to at some point.
Yes,
So-
I'm not gonna threaten that time.
some
Good.
stuff that I have to get done at home, but
Yeah.
that shouldn't take me more than an hour. So, I can be home, so like I can leave here at like 11
Mhm.
and I'll be fine.
It feels like this will end in about 40 minutes.
That's what you feel?
That's how I feel about
That's your vibe?
That's the vibe.
Will the bet on that?
How much?
You willing to bet your job on that? We say that sometimes.
Because Tristan can go for an hour and a half.
Oh, yeah, I can go as long as I need.
That's true, but there's only so long that the rest of the meeting can sustain it.
I think Henry and I hold the record for going as long as we needed. And we didn't get as long as we needed, but we went as long as we wanted that one day.
Your question about carpooling, I put a post on Zulip and
Cool.
complete with a permission slip. I would like for anybody I'm driving just to have something saying I have your permission to drive you. So
Sounds good.
that's on there. So I don't think we need to talk about that anymore. Cool.
Trying to,
8, 9.
yep,
So we were there at 6, everybody else left at 8, and then the two of us left at 3 in the morning.
yep. And we had not succeeded
We did not figure it
at
out.
getting Alma to update behind that proxy.
Tried it.
Oh. Okay, well, because what I would like to do is talk just a little bit about scripting. How many people have written a bash script? Show of hands. Michael? No? Yes? No? How many people want to do this? No? Yeah.
I've written
Yeah.
bash scripts a couple of times, but I'm not too familiar with the syntax.
I've written bash scripts before, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
I haven't done
done
anything, but I've done.
I
Yeah.
haven't done
Okay.
control.
I remember you said you wanted to get into bash.
It's not too
I
hard.
use Python.
Pretty easy. Oh,
I
yeah,
can't,
yeah.
I can't read
Yeah.
bash.
I-
Too much of it.
Did you get it? No, yeah, it's hard, it's not impossible, it's basically just different. syntax.
That's really.
I mean, anything is weird can compare to Python.
Yeah, Python.
That's a-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
yeah, Python's easy, but the syntax is so unlike anything else.
What's the default shell in, no,
Ooh,
what's the default shell in Ubuntu?
That depends what you mean.
Isn't it dash?
Yeah.
what I got was the born again shell.
Yeah. I just love this. I just thought I'd ask again.
What comes typically is just your shell. You can get C shell. That's one that exists.
I'm pretty sure it's dash depending on what you mean, or bash depending on what you mean.
So here's the list of shells that are available.
Pmux is king.
Yeah.
Objectively.
Screen is listed as a shell.
That's wait, really?
Yeah,
That's a shell.
it's listed as a
It
shell,
can be a shell.
and
It's a
this
shell server.
and this means that
Okay.
you could give it as somebody's login shell. That would be interesting. So here's the deal. Like, this is interesting. I just, it's a shell. So if I run dash bash dash
Yeah.
bash dash version, it will tell me that I'm running GNU bash version 5.1.16, and GNU stands for GNU is not Linux, is not Unix, right? But if I run, so SH always points at the default shell for your distribution. That's what it's for. There is no shell called SH. It does not exist.
An executable code.
There is, but there is no program called SH. And so if I run SH -- version, I don't know what you're talking about. If I run SH -V, thinking, oh, it's a child, I get a prompt because it ignored -v.
Capital V doesn't work either.
I wonder what happens if I say, no, it won't. This is just an environment, or this is a mistake people think. Well, what shell am I in now? Like, well, you didn't change your environment variable, right?
Oh, try man sh.
Yeah, you can do that, I think.
Yeah.
And when you get man sh, it shows dash.
But I wanted sh.
And
Just want standard shell, man.
well, so the rules for sh is that you have to have something that points at sh in your Linux distribution to be POSIX compliant. And it has to be a POSIX compliant shell. I'm getting to something that I just love to point out. Bash became the de facto shell for Linuxes, Lucy's, Linux, for Linux,
I like Lucy's.
Lucy's. And
GNU Linux.
lots of distributions began using Bash and continue to use Bash. It might explain here, I can't remember. You can look it up easily enough, but there's some things that the shell and the OS has to do over and over and over, like zillions of times a second. One of those being like the low-level exit call, right? And Dash is faster at some of those things than Bash is. And so Dash came along. Apparently it's a little leaner since it doesn't have a version call. But I don't know a lot about it, but it's faster at some of these low-level calls. So Ubuntu, or maybe Debian, somebody said, okay, we're going to switch to Dash.
Looks like it was Debian.
That would make sense.
Yeah,
I would think it'd be a train wreck if Ubuntu said, yeah, we're going to have a different shell than Debian. So in Bash, or in Ubuntu, Bash is the default login shell for a user. And so if you create a new user, by default, they will get Bash as their login shell. But if you say that you want something to be run by SH, it will be run by Dash. It's important to know this when you write a script, because they're not the same shell. Okay. Now, the thing I love to point out is that how would you summarize the attitude that Mac OS users have about themselves?
Narcissistic.
I didn't say that.
You didn't agree with it.
I didn't agree with it. I just asked the question. What's that? Oh, no. Are you narcissistic? But it just works, right? How much better is it?
Actually rewrote it. He took a Mac Mini and
It's a hack and
Windows on there with all the drivers and everything.
Yeah. Excellent. Does it still have Mac OS on it?
Hey Josh, VM to work on KMU. I kept getting ACL kept telling me no
So
for some reason.
So Mac OS is, I think I told you, I just gave a Macintosh to my daughter because she had an old, I couldn't believe I'd given her one a while ago and she was still using it, and I'd gotten it. I don't know, it was our first internal tech fest. I can't remember how long ago that was, but so it's fine. But the developers, a lot of developers at work, they got to have their MacBook, right? So the company gets some MacBooks, and Oxel will like this, that they're, oh wait, you like fish, Oxel?
Yes, but it's not POSIX.
No. I was thinking it was ZSH for a while. So if you make a user in Mac OS, they get ZSH as their shell, and Mac OS users will just spend the entire lunch hour telling you how great ZSH is and how wonderful it is that ZSH is the default shell for Mac OS, and how Neanderthal anybody is if they still use Bash. But guess what? If you run SH on Mac OS, guess what it is? Hint, it's slightly slower than Dash. And if you run SH bash or SH dash dash version, you've already seen the screen that pops up. The default shell on Mac OS is Bash. And they don't know it. So just love that.
CSH is pretty nice.
It is. It has lots of pop-up things. And
It does have very fancy formatting configuration that
Yeah.
I'm slightly jealous of.
Mhm.
What shell am I using?
so it's cool. If they talk to you about login screens, have the nice conversation. If they say the default shell for Mac OS is ZSH, it's your moment. Okay. They say, no, it's Bash. You don't know that? It's Bash. Go to terminal, type SH dash dash version. It's Bash. You've been deputized. So the reason I mentioned this is that it's the shebang line. So I better not mess with that one that's part of my service. Okay. So let me start just a script here. Demo.sh. .sh is just a convention. Doesn't really matter. So without a shebang line, you can still write a script. It doesn't matter if it's there or not. We'll talk about what it's for in just a couple minutes. But a script is nothing more than stuff you can type at the command line. There might be things you can do in a script that you can't do at a command line, but I can't think of anything right off. I didn't plan this comment.
Should everything you do in a script should be able to be done in a command line and vice versa?
Well, actually, if you're running it with the shell or with Bash, it's just whatever you can do with the shell or with Bash. You could put Python in the shebang line. So it's whatever is interpreting the script. You're just automating your interaction with that interpreter, right? So I'm going to just go ahead and put a couple things in here that we could do with Bash. What things shall we do? And we don't want to require user interaction. What's one of you guys' favorite things to do with Bash?
Print hello world.
Oh, how do I do that?
Echo.
Echo. You like this? How often do you do this?
More than I'd like to admit.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm not, yeah.
Why?
Stop asking silly questions.
What if okay, what else? Go there yet.
Apt purge.
Anybody?
Once we move that C directly.
No, these would be things you actually do. Anybody over here? Oh, sure. Yeah, why not? But I'll let you do that because you're not telling me to destroy my VM. Yeah. But tell me, oh, you mean like this? Boy, that's hard to see. Oh, wait, I can fix it in here. I think this one works. That's better.
Whoa.
Cure you.
I think it's because you gave me an error. It's you.
Close.
Yeah, you're asking for what your user ID is.
Yeah. Or I guess not equal.
No, dash EQ. It's not equals in Bash.
Or what? No.
Yeah,
This isn't anyway. Okay,
Dash any.
I'll do this for you guys. 0. Okay. Oh, you mean not root? If it's not 0? Oh, you must run as root. And then we would say exit, right?
Weird that it's F, if, and then phi. That seriously threw me off. It was, and
It's either, well, I know that equal is dash EQ.
I swear,
And it's here actually,
I swear this thing was for
what the
oh,
0 dash any 0. That doesn't tell me.
No, this is just the rest. That's a good point, but I'm viewing the point of that block just as a validation block. And so we're going to do this, and if you're still okay, we're going to continue. I don't want to put the whole rest of the script in an else. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my computer doesn't have Dash installed. It just links SH to Dash. That's interesting.
On Ubuntu?
No, I'm in it on Endeavor OS.
Okay, so for that one, Bash is the okay, so ID-U for me is 1,000. I'm going to also, well, they don't have a man for that. By the way, this is that one an executable? Because this one is.
Fairly honest.
Test is an executable, but this other one is a bash enhancement. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, escape. And if you'll look, the equal and not equal operators are valid here.
Really?
Just saying. Did you see when I said I'd do it for you? I love you guys. I use the 1968 syntax when you guys need it. So anyway, there's a difference between what the single bracket test requires and what the double bracket test can accept. Double bracket test accepts a superset of what the single bracket test accepts, if that makes sense. But if you do a test with single brackets, that's POSIX compliant, but it also is it has some issues. The double bracket test, I just feel like I'm talking nonsense right now. But if you do tests with the double brackets, that's only available in Bash. But if you read the docs, I think it'll explain that they prefer you to use it, which is an odd recommendation because everybody likes to write POSIX scripts. So let's see here. We've got demo.sh here. Now I can't just run this straight out because the permissions are wrong, right? We haven't talked about this, right? But these two down at the bottom, net check and net set, those are I will say when I read these are RWIX and then RR. So Kaizek, are you familiar with these file level permissions? All right. So this is called the file mode. And that's why when you go to change these things, you run a command called chmod. You're changing the mode, but everybody says chmod or chmod because it doesn't look like mode, does it? And so it's divided into 3 sections. This first bit doesn't really matter where that D is and the dashes are. That's telling you something about the type of the file. D for directory, hyphen for a regular file. But there are other things that can show up there, like B for a block block file, C for a character stream, character file, things like that. But then you divide it into 3 sections of 3 characters each. And the first block of 3 applies to the owner of the file. The next 3 applies to the group, the primary group of the file, and the last 3 applies to the world, anybody, public. And fortunately, or handy, the owner and the group associated with the file are the 2 names that are printed in the middle there, Chris and Chris. There's a user named Chris, and there's a group named Chris. That's the behavior, default behavior when you create a user, is that Ubuntu will also create a group with the same name and put that login into that group. So, and we will hopefully talk more about this, but that's the quick version. R, W, and X stand for read, write, and execute. So this demo file, demo.sh, it says that the login named Chris can read and write it, but cannot execute it. That's what the little dash means. Good. Does that make sense? The group, anybody in the group named Chris can read and write it, but not execute it. And public, anybody in the world can read the thing, and that's all. But we need to be able to execute this. If I try to execute it right now, it'll say, who are you and what are you trying to do? I know you own the file, but if you're trying to execute this, you're clearly a little psychotic.
You're telling you for gonna take a
Yes.
see the action.
Okay. We'll continue because he knows this stuff. So to execute this thing, we have to turn on the X, at least for me, the user, right? By the way, root can execute this thing. This root's just out of control.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, you can see that in, well, let's see here.
I'll,
He cannot. Root can't run it.
why not?
Look at the permissions. It has read, write, and only read.
Yeah, I'm
Root
aware.
doesn't have execute privilege.
Why can't I?
Yeah, root doesn't care.
It does actually care. If you can take away root privileges, it depending on the
It is.
distro. It depends on the distro you use, though.
You can just give them right back though.
You can give them right back, yes. It's more of when you take away roots, execute privileges, you're more of just saying, don't be an idiot. You're an administrator, you can override it, but do that.
I just logged in twice. 3rd time's a chart.
Yeah, because I have read, write, execute, read, and execute.
Yeah, no longer the URL. You're at. Do
I don't care. I want magic to happen.
take away. There we go.
Toothless. Oh. Have to scroll down sometimes to get to that. Web console. All right. So here's a. This is still not working. There we go. So I'll turn myself into root here. And now I need to go back to that directory.
Yeah. You.
Oh, that's why it won't.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can disarm root, but I can just do.
Okay, so now if I try to run this as root, that won't work. Which one? There are times that you can do this. Well, that's not the same thing.
You're invoking shell.
I think this should user minus X.
You got to add it before the file name.
I do. File name always goes last. Kids.
Yes.
Almost always.
Unless you're using some weird utility, but most default utilities. Are you trying to add execute privileges?
Nope.
I'll remove it and we'll do
Okay. There's a way that this can work. Okay, but we're not going to stop here. Back out. Okay. So forget what I said about root because I don't remember what happened the other day. So anyway, you can't run this because it doesn't have its executable bit on. If you have color on, it'll show you the executables in green. I've shut color off because we've seen sometimes that color is not good. It's bad. And I don't know how to control it on a web console with vSphere. So if I take this and I say chmod, and what I'm going to do, there's lots of ways to do this. You can, a lot of people use binary numbers converted to decimal. So each of these three read, write, execute groups, you can use the numbers 4 for read, 2 for write, and 1 for execute. And so that's 4 plus 2 plus 1. So if you say 7, you turn them all on. Read, write, execute, 4 plus 2 plus 1. If you want read and execute, that's 5, 4 for read, 1 for execute, whatever. A little more surgical, but if you do that, you have to say the whole number for all three. And then there are times when it gets more complicated. There's a more surgical way to do this, which is to say U for user, and that I want to just turn on the X. And you leave the whole rest of it alone. And so I'm going to do that. Yeah. Oh, and hit color on. There you go. So now they're all green, they're all executable. However, this will still fail. Won't it? You know, I don't know. I just never do it this way. This isn't properly set up to reliably succeed. How's that? Okay, it did work. You must as root. You must as root.
Yes.
This is not reliably rich. And let's see. What if I say SH? I think this will still. Oh, this might fail. That would be good. Yeah.
You like failure.
So if I'm running an SH, there we go. And I say that I want to run demo dot, there's no completion here. I want to run demo.sh, running it just the same way I did in my login shell. This will fail. Okay. Why is that?
Why will it fail?
I asked you first.
You did ask me?
I asked you.
Double brackets in the bash thing.
Yeah. I even told you the answer before I caused the question. Remember I said that the double brackets for running tests, that's a bash thing. And so from the command, I'm in dash right now because I invoked sh. And so if I say something like 1 equals 1, and I ask for the return code, sorry, which scripting language was I in? It'll just say, I don't even know what you're trying to do, right? But if I exit back out into bash, and I say 1 equals 1, and I ask for the return code. Oh, sorry. I got a 0 out. I just didn't handle it correctly. I echo the return code. I get a 0 because bash understands that. This is a bash extension. So how do we make it so that we can always run our little script?
Always run it.
Even if we're in dash or r bash, whatever that is.
A shebang.
Profile.
With,
Use our NC.
somebody might have said it, but
Shebang. You had a
oh, you
shebang.
said it. Yeah, you had a shebang line.
It tells it what.
Yeah,
How do I read this file?
yeah. This is the thing that says which, what do you want to run this thing? I'm going to say bin bash.
Well, you need
Yeah.
to say bash because you have the double bracket.
Yep.
Yep.
And you'll see some places that say you should use env and then bash, but I don't. They claim it's more flexible, but I don't understand the reasoning well enough to start doing it. Yeah. So now if I save this, I'm explicitly saying that I want to use bash. Now I think I can still screw this up by explicitly saying I want to run it with dash.
Yeah, you can.
So I do
Linux
that,
you-
it'll still be, oh, well, this is interesting. It now says that I'm root, because I caused an error. This is interesting. Yeah, so demo says hello world, you must as root. Maybe I could have fixed that when I was in there. But now if I go to, we'll come back to fixing this error. But now I'm in dash, right? And if I run this thing, it will still, it'll still do what it's supposed to do, right? So now let's talk about this deal where we're getting this error, right? And so we would want this thing to just terminate. We don't want it to tell the person their root, because instead of telling them we're root, what we're really going to do is decide in the script that they're root and then let them go try to do root things, which is just going to cause other errors because they're not root, right? So let's
What did
let's
you
do that.
Don't worry about it. I'm being sarcastic.
Let's
I finally set up a working HTTP server that will serve the WPAD file.
how's that? We haven't gotten to Smashburger yet.
Henry shedding a tear.
You really must as root. I think that's much better. So, in order to, so the problem is right now is that we're coming in, we print hello world, we check our ID, but if we're in dash, I hadn't expected to go through this teaching flow, but this is good. If we're in dash, this line fails because dash doesn't understand this kind of test with the double bracket. Dash only understands it if there's just one bracket, and that's the POSIX compliant test. And so instead of running the if statement, it just says, oh, and it falls down here. And if we were to check the return code right there, we'd see that it's not 0, and we could exit, right? But instead, we continue and we print you are root. And the problem here is that if we were doing this as a script, we would say like, is root equals 1. I better be careful about how I do this. And then we would assume from this point on that they're root or something. And we might not make them exit up here, right? If this was a real script, we might, this is going to just be wrong. Forgive me. But it's, in terms of program flow, this is not going to be the way I do it. But just to give you the idea conceptually, this might be what we're going to do. And now we get your else, right? So we might do something like this in our script. Because we're just trying to detect if this person is root or not. And somehow, this actually wouldn't do what I'm talking about, but somehow it might lead to a situation where we're going to falsely identify this person as root. That's what I'm trying to say. This syntax wouldn't do it, but it could happen, okay?
What is root here?
Well, the top part is check is not equal 0. So if it's not, if they're root, their ID is going to be 0. And so if it's not equal 0, they're not root. It's It's confusing. Here, let me,
Oh, I thought they were both ones. I couldn't read.
oh,
it.
yeah. It's hard to
That's
read.
better. That's
Yeah. I don't know. Can I say like? I'm just going to forcibly quit this. I don't want any of those changes.
That's why you always back up your stuff.
Yeah, well, usually with Vim, there's a thing called undo tree, and there's a setting where you can have your changes persist across sessions.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And then this nice graphical thing where you can like go up and down on your changes and it'll show you. And you can say, I want to get to this one. And you say, that's the one. Yeah, it's nice. I could show you. Yeah. So there are a couple of things you could do. And one would be to just say, if RC, sorry, I'm in the wrong language again. Let me do the color again, color in. I just found that this one worked when I was at home here. If RC is equal to 0, sorry, we're doing this because it works. Probably works all the time also. Then you say your root, right? And you continue there. But if it's not 0, you would do something appropriate to the error. And the safer way to do this is right after this if thing happened, after that you exit the if block, you capture the return code in another variable so that, because otherwise something's the next time you sneeze, our return code is gonna change, right? You always need to capture your return codes right away. But the lazy way to do this, and usually this is just as good as anything else, not always, but the lazy way to do this is to set a option, and I think it's -X. I usually set -E and X. So let's do this so that I can tell you which one's which. So now, yeah, let's find out. So now if I run sh. Demo.sh. You can see it didn't continue, right? It said demo.sh line 7. I didn't know what to do with line 7, but it doesn't continue on, right? And so there are a number of these set options. If those of you who have been with me through a previous year will know that you'll see me do something and go, and then you'll see me type this, set-ovi. And that's because this option lets me do things like VI style searches, since I've used VI for a long time. So there's a history, right? A keyboard history, I'm sorry, a command history that this thing keeps. And suppose I want to find the I want to do the chmod command. And I don't want to go into history and figure out that it's command 409 and all of this. Well, in Vim, you search by getting into command mode and hitting the / key and then typing what you're searching for. Well, now that I've done set-ovi, there's an Emacs mode if you hate yourself, but I can hit the editor that shall not be named. I can hit the escape key and then do /chmod and hit enter, and it'll start cycling through my commands that have chmod in it. And so I'm going to hit N for next, and it looks like it's always the same one.
So that's what that Emacs flag was when I was looking through my dash man page.
Yeah, they're mutually exclusive. You can either turn on Emacs and it defaults to Emacs because of course it does. So I'll try a different one that has more than one. I'll search for which, because I was looking for square brackets. I'll hit enter. There's which. I was trying to see which one of these was an executable. So which I was looking for the single bracket or the square brackets. There I was looking for the environment for which Python 3. That's a nested command, doesn't matter. But you can see as I hit, and that must be the last one. it cycles me through the commands that match whatever I type. And I think it'll take regex for those of you who would care about that.
Yay, regular.
Yeah.
Versus Python history to grab and search.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be the alternative, right? You could say history, and then you could pipe it to grep and look for which, and that'll get you this far.
Right.
And then you have to say, what now? You're gonna, so I could send it to awk and say print everything except the first field. I'm not sure how to, can you do awk print $2
Still figuring.
dash?
I'm still figuring.
Arc is weird. I don't know how to use Arc. I barely know how to use grep.
It's used to put. Honk is the sound that birds make. But that's
Dumb
how
bird.
days.
I'm going to try this since here we are. So I'm going to look for beginning of the string. Oh, but that'll match. Matching only. How did I get it to only return groups? You know, well, I can try it. Yeah, this is, my addictions are showing. Hang on. So any number of spaces followed by any number of digits followed by any number of spaces. And then I want to capture anything after that. But I think if I say only matching, it's going to give me the whole line. Got it wrong. Well, this is why we do this one piece at a time. Really? Oh, wait. Grep by its defaulted self is not very smart. So I'm going to have to at least say enhanced regex. Like, oh, but maybe I have to, no? What am I doing wrong? I don't know. Okay, that's not good. So it doesn't, oh, grep doesn't use this kind of grep doesn't use
I agree.
that style of character class. So I have to say this, I believe. Oh, well, that's my homework, I guess.
Learn regular expressions.
Have learned the regular expression. Because it comes out as a number, a space, then a number. And I said any number of spaces, so 0 will work. And then, oh, but I left an extra backslash. There's still hope. But it matches the whole thing. Yay.
But if you only had 4 or 5 commands.
Yeah.
Kristen, how much do I owe you?
Okay.
For what?
You
Oh.
pay more.
Just don't ask for what,
What?
just tell them a big
How
number.
much do you have? I kid.
Okay.
I don't know. Car dealership.
I'll give you $2.
Not money. I'm all right.
Okay, anyway, I lost that.
I mean, I'm not
Oh,
yeah, I'm not new if you want to, but like I'll be just fine.
I don't.
He made a bet
Made a
that
bet,
we wouldn't be here for longer than 40 minutes after 30 minutes after 12 or 40 minutes after 11:50. And it's
Yep.
currently 12:35, which is 45 minutes afterwards.
Yep.
So these are the -O options. I would recommend, this is something I'd recommend looking up online because I searched for -O and I had to hit N a lot. By the way, in the man page, you can also hit / and then type in what you're searching for. And this one took a long time because I was like, well, I could search for -O, I could search for VI, but VI is going to be in a good number of other words, like, you know, I don't know, vision isn't probably in here much, but there's going to be other words that have that. But you can see all of these are, I don't think they call these shell options, because there's another command called shopped for shell options. But these are all the set options. And you have to, but there's Emacs, you say set-o Emacs, use an Emacs style command line editing service, which means you have to spend some time learning that. If you don't know it, I think 3-4 years ought to be adequate. And there's some trace options you can turn on. Error exit is the same as -E. Oh, I turned on -E, right? So in our script, when we said set -E, this is why we had an exit when we had an error, right? That's why we didn't continue. There's some other useful ones in here. The main one, I got to think, is there's one that'll show you every command before it executes. And I think that's -X. Yeah. And the interesting thing about this is right here. You'll notice it says after expanding each simple command, then it tells you then it prints what it's going to do. And so if you're using variables in your script, it doesn't show you like echo variable name. It'll show you echo, you know, it doesn't say echo hello, comma, username. It'll say echo hello, comma, Chris. And so you can see how your variables are resolving. And that we can demo. There are lots of environment variables in your shell, and this is the last thing we'll do. And you can see them by typing the command env for env, environment. And you can see this one down here, user, right? That's your username. It's Chris. So if you echo $user, you get out your username, right? So let's go into the script, demo.sh, and let's change hello world to say hello $user. I need to set up some defaults for VI here. Okay. Now, usually you would want to put quotes around a variable name. There are some interesting situations here, so I'm not going to do that. This is safe the way it is.
Or is it?
It is for this situation. So I'm going to go ahead and run this as it stands. And and you can see, what's this? I'm not really, what did I just do? Oh, I already had this on. Did I turn it on? I don't remember doing this. Oh, I turned on -X instead of -E earlier. My bad. So this is what -X does, right? You can see that it's putting a plus sign and then it goes ahead and prints things. You can see that ID has 2 plus signs in front of it, right? And that's because it's embedded a level deep. I think technically that's because it's an embedded shell. When you run a command inside that syntax we had, pull this back up real quick. This syntax with the $sign around the command means that you're going to run this command in a separate shell, and then the results get typed back into that location just like you typed them. And so ID has 2 plus signs in front of it, so that you can tell that it was an embedded command. But yeah, you just wind up seeing what is actually going to be run. They substituted in 1000 because that's the value that came when ID-U got ranted. And so you can see that it's useful for debugging, right? So So that's kind of it. I really wanted the script to have -E before, it's bad. But so that's it. I'll put something out in the channel this week. And what I'd like you to do is go ahead and get rid of this. Go ahead and get a start on some scripting. Some of you mentioned you wanted to start a cheat sheet. Why don't you start those, and I don't know if we should queue those up. Let's not do pull requests on them until we can like talk through what we want to do. Yeah, keep it on a branch. That'd be good. But also people are wanting to find one, let's look at what's already out there. Yeah, okay. So but yeah, let's start thinking about how to get one, because otherwise it's hard to I'm gonna dump any random comment, any random command that I think of that is useful in the moment. I'm just gonna use. And starting next week, what you have to do is stop me when I'm using one and it doesn't make sense. You don't know what it's doing. You don't know how it works the way I just used it, whatever. You have to, your assignment is to say, excuse me, I'm sitting here nicely instead of talking about Batman, and I would like to ask you a question and ask me what the command is for. And we'll stop right then and talk about it. Okay? Deal? Cool. Have a good week.
Speaking of that.
Yeah, it's time.